Ladies and gentlemen, there is no one on this earth who escapes pain. It arrives without invitation. It leaves without warning. Physical, emotional, mental. Pain manifests in many forms, often arriving when we least expect it. Through betrayal, through failure, through loss, through loneliness. Pain is not the enemy. It is a messenger and a teacher. Often in life, we are taught to avoid pain at all costs. From a young age, we learn to run from discomfort, to seek pleasure, and to find safety in comfort zones. But pain finds its way to us anyway, because it is not something external to be dodged. It is an essential part of growth, of transformation of the human experience. When pain comes, it comes with information. It reveals where something is broken, misaligned, or unhealed. It exposes the cracks in the foundation of our beliefs, relationships, and choices. And in doing so, it offers us a chance, not just to suffer, but to see more clearly. Pain asks us to slow down and listen. It's a signal from within, an invitation to pay attention to parts of ourselves we've ignored or repressed. Physical pain reminds of our limitations and asks for care. Emotional pain exposes attachments, wounds, and unmet needs. Spiritual pain confronts us with the emptiness that arises when we drift too far from our values. In each form, pain does not simply disrupt our lives, it redirects them. Most people see pain as something negative, something to get rid of. But if we step back and observe, we'll see that every meaningful transformation in life involves pain. A child's growth involves aching limbs. A new beginning is often preceded by a painful ending. Even the strongest steel is forged through fire. Pain strips away illusions. It makes us honest. It brings us back to what is real. And in this raw, unfiltered space, we begin to rediscover ourselves. To treat pain as an enemy is to miss the wisdom it carries. When we resist it, when we suppress it, when we deny its presence, we only prolong the suffering. But when we accept it, when we allow it to speak, it often guides us to truths we would have never found in ease or comfort. Pain has a language of its own, and only silence, stillness, and courage can help us understand it. Think of the moments in your life where you grew the most. Were they during times of ease or times of struggle? Were they in moments of pleasure or in the nights when you questioned everything? Pain doesn't just happen randomly. It often appears exactly where we need to grow the most. It puts pressure on the parts of our identity that are ready to evolve. It pushes us out of false attachments and forces us to develop new strength. This is why pain, though unwelcome, is one of the greatest teachers life provides. It teaches humility by showing us we are not in control of everything. It teaches compassion by helping us understand the suffering of others. It teaches resilience by challenging us to rise again after being broken. Every painful moment carries the seed of a lesson, but we must choose to be students. We must choose to open ourselves, not to the suffering, but to the truth hidden within it. To see pain as a messenger is to shift from victimhood to awareness. It is to ask not just, why is this happening to me? But, what is this here to reveal? That question changes everything. It moves us from avoidance to exploration. It opens the door to growth. Pain is not there to destroy us. It is there to wake us up. It is the body's way of calling us home. The heart's way of seeking alignment. The soul's way of reminding us who we truly are. True power is born from choosing awareness over reaction. In a world that constantly demands immediate responses, quick judgments, and emotional outbursts, awareness becomes a rare strength. Most people live in a cycle of reactivity. Something happens, and they respond without pause, driven by anger, fear, insecurity, or pride. But in that pattern, there is no freedom. There is no power. Only automatic behavior rooted in past conditioning and unconscious habits. To truly gain power over yourself, you must learn to stop reacting and start observing. Awareness is the space between stimulus and response. It is the moment when something painful or unexpected occurs, and instead of immediately striking back, you take a breath. You feel what is happening inside of you. You watch your thoughts rise like waves. You allow your emotions to exist without being controlled by them. This practice is simple, yet incredibly difficult. It requires discipline. It requires training. But it is through this self-control that real strength begins to emerge. When you are reactive, you are a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Every insult, every delay, every disappointment has the power to ruin your peace. You give your power away again and again to circumstances, to people, to things you cannot control. But when you cultivate awareness, you cut those strings one by one. You begin to master your inner world instead of being a victim of the outer one. Awareness brings clarity. When you are aware, you see not only what is happening around you, but what is happening within you. You recognize when your ego is wounded, when your fear is speaking, when your impatience is rising. And once you see it, you no longer have to obey it. You can choose a different path, a wiser path, a calmer path. One that aligns with who you truly are rather than who the moment tries to make you become. Power is not in controlling others. It is in controlling yourself. It is in having the ability to respond with wisdom when it would be easier to lash out with anger. It is in standing still when the world tries to provoke you into chaos. It is in making decisions not from impulse, but from intention. Every moment offers a choice. Awareness opens the door to that choice. Reaction slams it shut. This is not about suppressing emotion or pretending to be unaffected. It is about understanding your emotion so deeply that you are no longer ruled by it. It is about holding space for your inner storms without letting them destroy your outer reality. This is the kind of strength that cannot be seen from the outside, but it changes everything from the inside. It is quiet, but it is unshakable. To choose awareness is to slow down in a fast world, to listen before speaking, to feel before acting, to pause before judging. These are small acts, but they carry tremendous power. They transform your relationships. They improve your decision-making. They deepen your sense of peace. They make you reliable, stable, and grounded, even when everything around you is unstable. This power does not come overnight. It is built through daily practice, through moments where you catch yourself about to react, and instead you breathe, through situations that test your patience, and you remain centered, through challenges that would have once broken you, but now only make you stronger. With each of these moments, your awareness sharpens, your presence deepens, and the power within you grows quietly, steadily, with dignity and grace. The world will always offer chaos. People will always test your limits. Life will always present difficulties. But none of these things control your response unless you let them. And the moment you realize that, the moment you choose awareness over reaction, is the moment you begin to reclaim your true power. Growth begins when you stop running from your pain. As long as you keep avoiding, distracting, numbing, or denying your suffering, it continues to follow you like a shadow. Pain that is not faced becomes a weight you carry into every area of your life. It colors your decisions, shapes your reactions, and limits your potential. You may try to escape it through work, entertainment, relationships, or silence, but it remains, waiting to be acknowledged. It is only when you finally turn around and face that pain directly that transformation begins to happen. Avoidance is a natural instinct. No one wants to feel discomfort. No one willingly walks into emotional fire. But there comes a time when the avoidance itself becomes more painful than the thing being avoided. There comes a point where running leaves you exhausted, disconnected, and empty. In that moment, you're faced with a choice: to keep escaping or to stop, breathe, and begin the uncomfortable process of facing what hurts. Facing pain is not a single action. It is a process. It means allowing yourself to feel the full depth of your emotions without pushing them away. It means being honest about your disappointments, your regrets, your fears, and your grief. It means no longer pretending everything is okay when it isn't. This process is not easy, but it is necessary, because in that honesty, In that raw vulnerability, there is healing, there is clarity, there is growth. When you stop running, you allow yourself to sit in the silence of your own presence. You begin to hear what your pain has been trying to tell you all along. You start to see patterns, recognize lessons, and understand how your past has shaped your present. The pain begins to lose its grip not because it disappears, but because it is finally seen, heard, and accepted. What we resist grows stronger. What we accept begins to shift. Growth comes when you choose to stay with yourself in your lowest moments instead of abandoning who you are. It comes when you decide to be brave enough to explore your wounds, not to deepen them, but to understand them, to uncover the beliefs they created, to break free from the limitations they imposed. Every painful experience holds within it the seed of transformation, but only for those who are willing to plant it in awareness and water it with courage. When you run from pain, you also run from the opportunity to become who you are meant to be. Comfort zones may feel safe, but nothing new is born there. Staying numb may protect you temporarily, but it robs you of depth, connection, and authenticity. To grow is to step into the unknown. To grow is to stretch, to shed old skins, to leave behind what no longer serves you. And that shedding often hurts. But it also frees. There is a quiet strength in choosing to sit with your pain rather than escape it. A strength that does not shout, but transforms you from the inside. You begin to see the resilience you didn't know you had. You begin to trust that you can survive what once felt unbearable. You begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that were buried beneath the fear. And slowly, the pain becomes less of a burden and more of a path, one that leads you toward greater wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. This path is not straight. It twists, it turns, it challenges. Some days you will feel strong, and other days you will struggle just to keep going. But every step you take while facing your pain is a step toward healing. Every moment you choose truth over avoidance is a moment of liberation. And in time, what once felt like darkness begins to reveal its light. Not because the pain is gone, but because you have grown strong enough to hold it with grace. Strength is developed through discomfort, not comfort. In the moments when life is easy, when everything flows smoothly and there is no resistance, there is little demand for growth. You rest, you enjoy, you coast. But the human spirit does not expand in still waters. It is forged in storms. It is in the tension, in the struggle, in the effort to keep moving forward despite adversity, that inner strength is truly built. Just like the body must be pushed, stretched, and tested to become stronger, the mind and heart grow through the same process of pressure. Comfort creates the illusion of safety, but too much comfort leads to stagnation. You stop taking risks. You stop challenging yourself. You settle into routines that feel familiar but do not serve your highest potential. Discomfort, on the other hand, shakes you out of that passivity. It wakes you up. It asks you to adapt, to think differently, to respond with courage rather than complacency. And through those responses, you begin to discover abilities you didn't know you had. When you are placed in uncomfortable situations, whether they are physical, emotional, or mental, your first instinct may be to retreat. The mind wants to avoid what it perceives as danger, but discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is opportunity. It is the space where transformation lives. When you choose to lean into that space rather than escape it, something within you begins to shift. You begin to trust your resilience. You begin to prove to yourself that you can endure more than you imagined. Each time you remain present in discomfort, you build strength, not just for that moment, but for everything that lies ahead. This strength is not loud or dramatic. It is subtle. It grows quietly, in the background of difficult experiences. It is in the mornings you rise even when your mind says stay down. It is in the words you speak with integrity even when it would be easier to remain silent. It is in the decisions you make that align with your values even when they cost you something. Each of these moments may feel small, but together, they build a foundation of character that cannot be shaken by outside events. Discomfort also teaches patience. It slows you down and humbles you. It reminds you that not everything can be fixed instantly, that healing takes time, that growth is a process. It softens your ego and opens your heart. It forces you to let go of the illusion of control and instead focus on how you show up, moment by moment, regardless of what you face. In this way, discomfort becomes a mirror. It reflects your current limits while inviting you to push beyond them. Many people wait for the right conditions before they begin their journey of strength. They wait for motivation, for confidence, for the absence of fear. But strength is not something you wait for. It is something you develop by moving through the very things you fear. It is not created in the absence of difficulty, but in your response to it. That response, repeated over time, becomes who you are. The greatest growth often comes not during the challenge, but after it. When you look back and realize how much you've endured, how far you've come, how deeply you've changed, you realize that the discomfort didn't break you. It shaped you. It revealed parts of you that would have remained hidden if not for the pressure. This is the paradox of growth, and what feels like breaking is often building. What feels like weakness is actually the path to becoming unshakable. And what feels like loss may in time become your greatest gain, if you allow the discomfort to do its work. Your wounds can guide you to your deeper purpose. The moments in life that leave you broken often carry within them the seed of something far greater than what was lost. A wound is not just a mark of pain. It is a sign that something meaningful occurred. It is evidence that you cared deeply, tried fully, trusted openly, or loved sincerely. Wounds form where there was once connection, belief, and energy. They are not signs of weakness but of humanity. And while they hurt, they also speak. They speak a language few are willing to hear, because the message often lies buried beneath emotion, memory, and fear. When you sit with your wounds instead of hiding them, something changes. You begin to listen, not to the surface level pain but to the story underneath. You start to understand why something affected you so deeply. You begin to see what truly matters to you, what values were compromised, what dreams were lost, or what truths were uncovered. That insight is powerful because it brings you closer to your core. It strips away pretense. It reveals what is real, and that is where purpose begins to form. Pain has a way of clarifying. It burns away distractions and leaves only what cannot be denied. A person who has suffered deeply often has a different kind of presence. Their words carry weight. Their actions come from intention. Their path may not be straight, but it is sincere. This depth does not come from books or lectures. It comes from walking through fire and choosing to keep walking. It comes from refusing to let the wound define you, while still allowing it to refine you. The wound itself is not the purpose. It is the doorway. It is the event that cracked you open so that light could enter. But it is what you do with that light that matters. Some people build walls around their pain and close themselves off to the world. Others use that pain to create, to serve, to understand, to connect. They use it as fuel, not to burn others, but to light the way forward. That choice is what turns suffering into strength and wounds into wisdom. When you begin to see your pain not just as something that happened to you, but as something that shaped you, your story changes. You stop asking why it happened, and you start asking what you can do with it. That shift in perspective is the beginning of purpose. Maybe your struggle helps someone else through theirs. Maybe your loss inspires a new mission. Maybe your healing becomes the foundation for others to heal. The possibilities are endless when you stop running from the wound and begin walking with it. True purpose is rarely born from comfort. It emerges when you are brought face to face with life's depth, when you are cracked open by experience and forced to rebuild with intention. The process is not glamorous. It is quiet, painful, and often lonely. But it is real. And from that reality comes direction, not the kind forced by external goals, but the kind that arises from within. The kind that says, this is where I've been, this is what I've learned, and this is how I will move forward. Every person carries wounds, but not every person uses them. Some bury them so deep they forget who they really are. Others wear them openly, but never grow from them. A few, however, choose to explore their pain with honesty and courage. They ask what the experience taught them, how it shaped their values, and how they can now live more fully because of it. These are the individuals who discover that their deepest hurt was not an ending, but a beginning. It was not just a loss, but a redirection. It was not just suffering, but a spark, guiding them toward a purpose they could not have seen until the wound opened their eyes. Turning pain into power requires presence, patience, and reflection. Most people wish to escape pain the moment it arrives. They seek distractions, quick fixes, and external solutions to an internal storm. But transformation does not happen in haste. It does not occur in denial or avoidance. It begins with presence, the willingness to stay, to feel, to be with whatever is arising within. Presence is not passive. It is an active choice to remain conscious in a moment that would be easier to escape. It means not shutting down, not running away, not numbing, but observing, breathing, and allowing yourself to witness the full experience of what hurts. Presence is the doorway through which understanding enters. When you stay present with your pain, you begin to notice its patterns. You begin to see how it lives in your body, how it affects your breath, your posture, your thoughts. You realize the stories your mind attaches to the pain. Stories of failure, abandonment, injustice, regret. But in that awareness, there is a pause. In that pause, you create space. And in that space, you begin to see that pain is not just something to endure. It is something to learn from. Patience is the next key. Healing is not a race. Growth does not follow a fixed timeline. Some days you may feel strong, clear, and focused. Other days, you may feel lost, exhausted, overwhelmed. This fluctuation is not a sign of failure. It is the rhythm of transformation. To develop inner power, you must allow the process to unfold at its natural pace. You must be willing to sit in uncertainty without forcing answers. You must be gentle with yourself when progress feels invisible. The flower does not bloom the moment the seed is planted. There is a season of darkness, of rooting, of unseen development. Pain works in much the same way. It breaks the surface, but it also deepens the soil. Reflection brings meaning to the pain. Without reflection, suffering remains suffering. But when you reflect, when you ask deeper questions, what is this trying to teach me? Where is this pointing me? What does this reveal about what I truly need? You begin to extract the wisdom hidden in the struggle. Reflection is not about overthinking or reliving the past endlessly. It is about making space for silence and listening to what your experience is telling you beneath the noise. Often, the most profound insights emerge not when you search for them, but when you become still enough for them to find you. When presence, patience, and reflection work together, something begins to shift inside. You start to feel a quiet strength building, not because the pain has vanished, but because you are no longer fighting it. You are integrating it. You are turning it into fuel for something greater. Resilience, compassion, awareness, clarity. You begin to realize that pain is not an obstacle to power. It is the path to it. But only if you are willing to walk slowly, consciously, with humility and openness. This path is not about becoming unbreakable. It is about becoming whole. It is about embracing every part of your journey, including the chapters filled with difficulty. Each painful experience, when met with presence, patience, and reflection, becomes a stepping stone. Each moment you choose to remain open instead of shutting down becomes a sign of growth. Each insight you gain from your pain becomes a tool you carry forward. Power that is born from pain is different from power that is born from ambition. It is deeper. It is quieter. It is rooted in experience. It does not need to prove itself because it knows what it has overcome. It does not dominate others because it has learned to master itself. This kind of power cannot be given or taken away. It can only be discovered by those who are willing to stay present with their pain, to wait with patience, and to listen with honesty. In every wound there is wisdom. In every hardship there is hidden strength. Pain is not something to fear. It is something to understand. It arrives not to destroy you, but to awaken you, to strip away what no longer serves you, and to reveal the depth of your resilience. When you stop running from it, when you choose awareness over reaction, when you sit in the discomfort and listen with presence and patience, pain transforms. It becomes your teacher, your guide, your fuel. The same weight that once tried to break you becomes the very force that rebuilds you. And in that transformation, you don't just survive. You rise. Not in spite of your pain, but because of it. That is how you turn your pain into power.